What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode with the podcast guys with Rob and Nando. We are going to get into a new episode today, but before we do so, we are on the road to 1,000. 1,000 what, you say? 1,000 subscribers. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, share the video, like the video, and support us. We are pushing on higher and higher as we move forward in 2024. So our topic for today is going to be problems with modern women. So before we get into it, problems with modern women. There's so much going on with modern women nowadays, and it just seems to be getting worse and worse. And there's no end in sight. And of course, we want to speak on that. So what do you see is the first problem with modern women? Of course, there's many of them, but what are one of the first ones that you can think of?
I would say the first biggest problem with most modern women is that they set very unrealistic expectations when it comes to dating. Okay? Women aren't really that logical when they make their decisions on who they want to date. Men look at stats. We know what the average income is. We know the stats when it comes to divorces and marriages and whatnot. Women don't look at the stats and go, okay, well, a majority of American men make this much. Let me aim a little higher than that, and that'll be my standard. They just throw crazy numbers out there, 300K, 500K, 400K. They want 6 foot when a majority of men are somewhere between 5'8" and 5'10". They want guys that are 6'4", 6'5". They want to live a carefree lifestyle where they have a nice house and just travel and they don't have to work. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with modern women in general is that their expectations are getting really out of hand to the point where most men aren't going to be able to provide anything even close to that.
It seems like most men will not take that nonsense. The thing is that women at this point, modern women want everything. They want the guy to have a lot of money, as you said, 6 foot tall or higher. Not all guys are 6 foot tall or higher. I mean, come on. Some guys are born and grow up to be 5'6", 5'9". So there's that. There's guys that are physically fit and guys that are not physically fit. So, of course, if guys want to put themselves where they have a chance, the more they go into the gym, the more physically fit they are, the better chance they have with a modern woman. But they want that. They want a guy that's clean, that's driven, that's motivated, that's going to be a leader. So there's all these things. And unfortunately, not all guys have that. Not to say that there aren't guys that are trying, because just like I mentioned before, the guys that aren't in shape, there's guys that are trying to get in shape, and they're putting the effort into that. And sometimes the more they try, the more it seems that it's not good enough for these women.
The crazy thing about this discussion is that, just to be clear, we're not referring to the most attractive women on the scale that have these type of standards. We're talking about women that are average themselves, 5s and 6s. There's women that are completely average, slightly overweight, average looking, poor attitudes. Some of them, are broke themselves, and these are the women that are setting these type of expectations, which are completely unrealistic. It ends up in a scenario where both women and men end up losing because more and more people are single and kind of like men and women. It's in a weird place right now where men and women are kind of like there's a tension between the two. But be realistic with your expectations because, especially as a woman, as you get older, things aren't going to get easier. Your chances of getting that high-end guy are not going to get easier as you get older. So
we've talked about it before. Once a woman hits 30, it starts slowly, but it starts going downhill from there. So things change. Situations change. She may still be a very pretty woman, but as days go by, less and less options come to her. That's one thing she has to look at. And also, something to consider is that a lot of women think that guys can think what they're thinking. They think that guys are mind readers. So when a woman doesn't want a guy to do a certain thing or act a certain way, it's all hands in the air. It's, why did you do that? And that's an unrealistic expectation to think of as well. You can't read what a woman has in mind all the time. Of course, there's some things that she can expect from you, and guys do their best to be ready for those expectations, but very little things, subtle things that women just freak out about. And I don't blame guys for not dealing with that problem that modern women have, and that's those unrealistic expectations.
Correct. And men don't have that option. We can't be average and say, well, we only date women that are a size 0 and that are absolutely gorgeous and are fit. You know, it's if we were to say that, they would laugh in our face. So that's all we're saying. So
what's the next problem that modern women have?
Number 2 is that modern women often have an inflated sense of self-worth. And what I mean by that is, if you take into consideration that, number 1, you have feminism, you have a lot of music that, if you listen to the lyrics, it kind of like boosts up female ego. It makes them feel irreplaceable. I think that's a Beyonce song, no? Irreplaceable?
Yeah.
And if you listen to the lyrics, it kind of like preaches this message of like, you're the prize. You can leave him at any moment. You deserve the best. You're the queen. So a lot of music, that's like the culture now.
Stop the cap.
So women now have an inflated sense of self-worth. They think they are queens. They literally say it. I'm a queen, you know? So what ends up happening is they have an egotistical kind of mindset when it comes to dating, because they truly believe that they deserve the best of everything or nothing.
Well, the thing is that we've mentioned this before as well. They tend to come off as narcissistic, entitled, like their shit doesn't stink. And ladies, this is the truth. There's many of you beautiful women out there. So it's not like you're not replaceable. You are replaceable. You know, it just takes these guys that are out there to really recognize that and make that change. Make the change first, working on themselves, to then make the change in women, to have their options, because women have their options. Why can't men have their options? It's not fair. So you guys, you men, have to make it fair for yourself. Create yourself a level playing field with these ladies. But at the end of the day, if these ladies are walking around thinking that they're Taylor Swift or Beyonce or Rihanna or whoever they idolize, they're going to come out losing, because that feeling that they have this sort of power, especially over men, that's going to pretty much have them dig themselves a hole.
Yeah, and that's why I think we're really at a turning point now where men have to start, that we really have to be careful with how much attention we give and to who and how much, because think about it, where does all that like high ego come from? Even average, even ugly women are getting plenty of attention from guys. They're getting DMs, they're getting likes, guys are trying to take them out. So it makes sense why they would act like that, because they're being treated like they're some kind of stars. You know what I mean? So after a certain amount of time, you're going to start to believe that you really are that special. Like, wow, look at all these guys that are hitting on me. I must really be that attractive. You know?
At the end of the day, it's an illusion. These women have an Instagram. These women have maybe Tinder and Bumble, depending on if they're on dating apps. They have Facebook. They have Snapchat. They're on TikTok. So all these sort of social media profiles that they have and the following, every time they post a picture or a story or a reel or whatever it is, the more attention they get, the more they feel that
it builds up their ego.
They're at the top of the world. They think they're everything, and they think that they're the shit, which at the end of the day, they're not.
You can't even walk into a clothing store nowadays where without seeing an overweight mannequin. Like, it's even gotten to the point where, like, look in the women's section next time you're at the mall, and you'll see that they replace like what used to be like skinny, average size mannequins with overweight, big stomach, thunder thigh mannequins, because they're catering to these type of women. They want them to feel special.
Or these models on Instagram wearing bikinis, showing off their ass, showing off their boobs, all this stuff, and they don't realize that there's a bunch of other girls doing the same thing. So what makes them so special versus the other ones? Also, you're talking about entitlement. You're talking about women that feel like they're better than all the other women. If 5s and 6s are thinking that way, imagine the 8s and 9s.
Exactly.
What they think.
Exactly.
Expectations they have. It's insane. And that's a big problem that modern women really need to recognize and try to change, because it's a lot of women will see this and they'll say, I'm not going to change one damn thing, but the results in your life, the outcomes in relationships that you try to create will prove that there's some changes that you should have made. So on that note, what's another problem that modern women have?
Number 3 is that modern women seemingly have completely stepped away from traditional values. Now, I understand we don't live in the 1950s anymore. Times have changed. We're in modern times now. We can't expect to live by the same rules as our grandparents did. But what I mean by women are straying away from traditional values, it is becoming increasingly common for women to have polygamous relationships. We've socially accepted cheating at this point. It's nothing like new, right? The fact that women are so quick to jump from man to man, have high body counts. Even women now are starting to step away from the idea of marriage and having kids even, which is scary, okay, when women are saying they don't want to have kids. So they're really going in a strange direction. You know, I understand modern times, certain things are going to change, but women have taken an approach that's going in a really bad direction.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that women, when they are talking to men or in a relationship with men, it doesn't seem that they're much of any type of nurturers. They're not submissive. They're not empathetic. And a lot of women are, there are a lot of attractive women, but there are also a lot of unattractive women. So those are things that they have to recognize, that if they attempt to want some sort of traditional relationship with a man, meaning he's got to be traditional, then she better expect to be traditional on her end, because there ain't going to be any double standard in this case, to put it in layman's terms.
What I hear a lot of now is women saying like, well, I'm not going to cook. I'm not going to clean. I'm not your mother. All I hear is I'm not. So what are you going to do? Like, what is your actual purpose? Why should a man date you at all then?
Another big one is that I'm not going to give any intimacy. I'm not going to have sex with you.
So it's like, right. It's getting, so what are you going to do?
What's the point of men even dating you at that point? What do you expect?
Can you be surprised that men are stepping away from dating? Like, what are these women actually good for?
So you expect men to give you everything, but you give them nothing.
Bingo.
So what's the point? Men aren't going to deal with that. They're just going to go on to someone else, because, again, there are many women out there that will, really be submissive. They'll be attractive. They'll give in, and they'll be nurturers. They'll cook. They'll clean. They'll be wanting to be the stay-at-home, eventually wife. Obviously, it's going to start out as a girlfriend, but then eventually to a wife. They're going to give sex. There's all these things that women are going to start doing, because they're going to realize that them playing this hardball game is not going to be cut out to fit them at the end of the day.
And something I'll just add to this conversation is that I've watched some female podcasts and like TikToks. I think women give each other the worst advice ever. When women try to give other women advice, and it's usually like a woman that's like in her 30s, 40s that
How
maybe
dare you?
Got out of a divorce, or she didn't end up with the man she wanted, and they give each other such horrible advice. I would urge, man, like women should really stop listening to each other, because they give each other the worst advice when it comes to dating.
The thing is that women give advice they think they should be giving, but that's advice that they're giving on their behalf for themselves. Them giving advice for someone else doesn't make sense, because everybody's different. Everybody goes about their life in a different way.
Just to give you a prime example, right? I forget her name, but there's this really big female YouTuber, and she went on like a stream the other day, and I remember her saying something like, if a man's into you, you'll know he's the one because he's going to chase you. And I was like, listening to that, I was like, that's the advice she's giving her? That if a man's into you, he's going to chase you? If anything, you're going to see more and more men do the total opposite. Men are no longer going to chase.
Men are no longer chasing. They're no longer tolerating this nonsense.
We're supposed to chase what? They're not. You have to become something even approachable, so something valuable. Now, men are going to chase modern women? Absolutely not.
Men were hopeful, but now that women have all these expectations and all these things going on, they don't want to deal with it. They want to go the opposite way.
Women give terrible advice.
And men rather lead a life with peace. That's what they want at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So what's another problem that modern women have?
Another problem that modern women have is that they are very quick to move on from one guy to another. They give up way too easy. Like, all it takes is a red flag, and they're done with the guy. One argument or one thing that they don't like about that guy, and they're ready to just consider it quits. This is not the guy for me. I'm going to move on to another one. And they kind of continue this cycle, and all they get out of that is a high body count, a laundry list of relationships that failed. A lot of them end up kind of becoming bitter and salty afterwards because of so many failed relationships. The answer isn't to just hop to another guy every time. This is where you can't play hopscotch and expect that you're going to just like magically land in a happy relationship.
I mean, there's no loyalty nowadays.
There you go.
There's no loyalty. Any little small argument, she's going to be, well, I'll go off and hit up my side piece and bang him. And that'll be the end of that.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be that way. You want something to work out. You can't let some small petty arguments take over the relationship. Let it overtake the relationship, and then you give up. How about the bigger arguments? How about the real problems? So that's really something to look at deeply and realize that you're never going to be committed in a committed relationship with a man if you can't keep it together. If all you do is argue and then you just get pissed off and cheat.
The whole thing's ironic because one of the biggest complaints from women is that men cheat. Oh, all men cheat. Men are dogs. Men can't be trusted. But women move on very quickly. They'll leave you for anything, And now what we're seeing more and more of nowadays is like even wealthier couples are breaking up. Robert Kiyosaki, I just found this out the other day. I had no idea. They were married for like 30 plus years. They're both filthy rich, and the wife still left them. So.
Men cheat, but also women cheat, and they cheat a lot more. And it's easier for them to cheat because they have so many options. So if one guy, again, is not doing it for them, they're going to jump to another one and then to the next one and to the next one. And that's a problem that you modern women have, that if you don't fix that, starting with, you can't really fix it as a whole right off the bat. Everyone has to do their part for themselves because, hey, you're not going to get a guy to commit with you if you can't keep it together. If you're in the talking stage and you let little things overtake, little arguments, little situations overtake and control that relationship, manipulate that relationship, ladies and gentlemen, you have nothing.
Women will test men and then fail that same test themselves. If there's no loyalty, like if you're willing to just leave over the little things, when you finally have a real long-term relationship, what's going to happen when something really comes up? So
exactly, they don't see it as serious. That those bigger things can really make it worse, especially bigger with the sense of, well, now we're married, so you're going to let some little argument throw the marriage off the rails. You have a lot on the line there.
It's one thing to leave your relationship because you were in a verbally or physically abusive relationship. But if you leave the guy because he liked another girl's photo on Instagram, that's a problem.
Or you've heard those stories where they're sleeping and that she has a dream that her husband cheated on her or her boyfriend cheated on her. And then she wakes up and she gets all upset. I mean, come on.
And that actually happens, yeah.
Come on. Really? Really? We're going to get that low? We're going to stoop that low? Come on. So those are things that, it feels sometimes that it kind of, causing that tension within the relationship keeps it exciting, but it's not exciting for men. Men don't like that argument. They want peace. They want relaxation, peace of, not just peace in the house, within the house, but when they go out and they go and do a job, at their work, they want that peace of mind. They want to make sure, okay, she's okay, I'm okay, everything's going well, everybody's happy, and keep it going. That's really it. So what's the last thing that we can think of that modern women have a problem with?
So last but not least, the fifth thing that's wrong with modern women is that they will never be happy with their current situation, meaning they are just never, you can never satisfy a modern woman. It'll never be enough. She'll get into one relationship or talk to one guy and she always wants more money, better lifestyle, nicer house, nicer car, better, you know what I'm saying? So that's another problem. And it kind of ties into what we just said a moment ago is that women move on very quickly and they're very quick to jump from one guy to another. And it's oftentimes because there's something more tempting on the other side, right? This guy lives in New Jersey. That guy's talking to me. He's in LA or he's in Miami. You know, I'm going to fly over there and see him because there's more opportunity there, better lifestyle.
Let's go back. What's that big word that we've talked about before? Hypergamy. Hypergamy, women are looking for better. They have someone, but it just doesn't satisfy them. They want more and more and more. It's a natural thing for human beings to always want more and to get better.
Correct.
But when you're dealing with someone else, when you're dealing with a significant other, come on, at some point you have to be like, okay, this is my person, and that's it.
It's greed.
And I'm not going to look elsewhere.
It's a greedy, selfish mindset.
It's bad, and it's a problem that modern women have to fix, because if they don't fix that, again, along with these other four and other problems that modern women have that we didn't even bring up in this episode, if they don't change that, that's something that's going to really destroy their relationships. And they can keep having relationships over and over and over again till they're blue in the face, but it won't change a thing unless they change this last thing and all the other problems that typical modern women have.
Yeah, and you know, to kind of even summarize all the points we made today, and I think that's the biggest problem out of all of these, is that women need to stop blaming the other side and kind of stop for a second and like really analyze themselves, their expectations. How have they been acting in their past relationships? What caused their last relationships to fall apart? Maybe they were the ones that were like mistreating or not acting right or giving the guy a hard time. So if there's any women watching this, I would really consider like how your own behavior and how you've contributed to your last few relationships, because it can't always just be on the guy. You know,
100%. And my final thoughts are, in this situation here, we're teaching you ladies out there, because this is typically a men's podcast. Of course, we're here to help all people from everywhere, all over the world. But today, we put out a message to women that you modern women have a problem and you got to fix it, and fix it fast. And if you see this episode and you don't recognize that with what's going on within your relationship or relationships just with people in general, acting the way that you act, then it's not going to work out. You're not going to have a true connection, a true relationship, and you might as well just haul around. You might as well just be that party girl. You just might as well be that single woman, that boss babe with dogs and cats, just living alone.
high expectation mixed with ego and a nasty ghetto attitude. I don't care what you do. That is not going to manifest you a happy life or relationship. It never will.
We mean well. We're not here to talk shit on the women. Hopefully they understand that this is, and every other thing we say is, has an educational purpose behind it. Because this is something that guys unfortunately can't tell you. And we ourselves have talked to women in our personal lives about this, and we've kept some of them around, but we've also lost some of them because they can't handle the truth. And that's unfortunate. It is what it is. We won't dwell on it. We don't care. We keep moving forward. It's always on to the next. But at the end of the day, this is for you guys. Recognize it. Make a change. Your life will be better because of it. So on that note, we will close out this episode. If you like what you saw and you think someone else could use this in their life to just have a wake-up call, make sure you share the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and don't miss out on more that we have coming up.